Hey YouTube, good morning. So I'm out here doing chores again, and once again I said I need to get the camera out. So I have 3 queen cells left from the batch from last week, and they're going to hatch on Thursday. I've got to head out of town Tuesday and Wednesday, so I need to get these cells into a nuke situation. I'm running out of hardware. I've got all my 3 framers, and my other one's all full up. And I've got a few mini mating nukes already going from the previous week, but I'm going to put these 3 cells into mini mating nukes. And while I do that, I wanted to kind of walk through my mini mating nukes situation here. Some people love these because the amount of bee resources in order to mate a queen is very, very small. Some people hate them because they swarm very easy and they get really cold on cold nights. Obviously, we're in the 50s in the mornings here now, so I think we're okay for the next few weeks. So it's just a decision on resources and space. But I have a bunch of them, and you can see these are well used. But I have modified mine a little bit in a way that I think is worth talking about. So I'll go ahead and open these up, and I'll just show you what I have here. And the first thing you're going to notice is I've 3D printed inner covers for these things. So these are just made out of PLA or PETG, whichever I had on the spool at the time. And the reason the inner covers are nice is because when you have a lot of bees in here and you open them up, but you just want to fill the water, I just kind of slide this, fill the sugar, I just slide this back to expose that. This is for ventilation, and it basically acts like an inner cover. And these things didn't come with them. But with them, I like them much more. There's a lot of ways of doing this. You could do it with plastic. You could probably even do it with some other thin material. I just decided to 3D print them. So you take the inner covers off, and then let me show you what I got on the inside. On mine, I have bought the inner liners because what I found is the sugar water, the styrofoam, could get worn out and it starts to leak. This prevents leaking, and I've actually hot glued these in there so they don't come out anymore. And this is a ladder. I put little 1/8" hardware cloth in here so that the bees can get down there and crawl out, because these little vinyl covers are a little bit slick and you'd have to put some sort of float in there. The ladders really, really help bee mortality. A couple other things I've got going on here, the mini frames with some old wax on them, which is nice to have a little bit of wax to get them going, but you don't always have much. I've also 3D printed some foundation frames for these mini mating nukes. Now, I have not had 100% success with them drawing these out yet, so this is going to be a little bit of a new experiment for this year, but I'm going to keep going with it. As you can see, I've got several of these in here. All of them have little starter strips of some sort. Sometimes I take foundation and cut it up and use that as a starter strip. Sometimes I use little popsicle sticks as a starter strip. It doesn't really matter. You just got to give them a little something to get going. So basically, I'm just cleaning these out. You stick them in the shed, and they get crap in them from roaches or whatever that lives in them. So I'm just kind of blowing it out with my air compressor to get all of this dusty material out of here. You don't have to do this. The bees will clean it up, but I like to try to not start with roach eggs in my mini mating nukes. Now, the process that you're going to follow me through here today, I'm going to have to do several cuts. I'm going to get these cleaned up. I'm going to go out to the apiary and find one of my stronger hives, and I'm going to shake some nurse bees out. And I'm going to shake the nurse bees out into like the hive butler or something like that. And then I'm going to put the bees in here, and I'll show you how I do that. And then I'm going to go ahead and add the queens, and then we'll top off this sugar water with my sugar water solution, which is a whole nother subject of my sugar water solution. All right, so stick with me. We'll keep going, and I'll be right back. Okay, we're out here on hive number C6, and I got my smoker going, and we're going to crack this guy open and see what we got in here. I'm not sure how much protection I'm going to have to use today. I'm going to put the veil on. I've got some gloves in my pocket. We'll see. When you're shaking bees, that can annoy them pretty big, but it's still early and the weather's not too bad, so we'll see how it goes. And I've got to go to work this afternoon, so I can't afford to get stung in the eye. First thing when you're doing shaking bees is you've got to find the queen, or you've got to deal with possibly sieving the queen out. So I don't know if I'm going to do this completely uncut until I find the queen. It depends on how long it'll take. She's probably down in the bottom box, but I'm just going to take a quick peek up top to see if there's egg laying up top. There's one of my beetle traps with some bait. Let's go over here just a little bit. Kind of see if she's laying up here at all. They're kind of looking at me, which means they're not doing too bad. Okay, so they're drawing this out. A little bit of wonky comb going on. Not too bad. When I see that wonky comb like that right there, I usually just try to discourage them by either taking it off or squashing it down. I don't see any eggs in there, so I'm going to go straight to the bottom box and look for the queen, just to save a little bit of time. I usually try to set my lids on the ground and set the bottom box on the lid in case there's any smoker's a little wet this morning. Always take an opportunity to look under the hive for swarm cells this time of year. Yeah, there's some cups going. Not big, they're just queen cups, nothing in them yet. See if we can see that a little bit. So there's a little cup starting here, little cup starting here, here. In general, that's where they are. All right. I use the brood minder system. Haven't talked about that yet on a video, but I keep temperature and scale numbers on my hive so I can actually remotely manage them and kind of see what's going on. This is my first year using this system, but I'm kind of a numbers guy and I love this sort of stuff. So I got the kit going there, a little oil, a couple beetles, not many. I'm doing pretty good with my beetle management right now. All right, I usually start with my drone frame just to kind of pull it out, and she is laying in the drone frame. Lots of milk brood in the drone frame, so she's making lots of drones, and those, so she's been laying over there. And we'll keep on going. I may cut some of this out if it takes me a while to find her, but if I find her, I'll make sure I cut back in. Lots of cap drone brood. Lots of cap brood. They are buzzing my mic, and that is because it's black. That's interesting. You guys are probably hearing that buzz. Okay, I went to put my jacket on, not because the bees were being horrible, but because they were going after that dead cat like crazy on my microphone. So I guess that little fuzzy-haired dead cat thing represented something they did not like. I mean, there were like 7 bees just doing everything they could to sting that little fuzzy wind resistance protector. So anyway, I put the jacket on so the microphone is underneath. Golly, these guys are just going. Full frames of cap brood. She should be in here somewhere around one of these frames. This is going to be a good one to shake off of if I find her because of all the nurse bees on the cap brood. More open cells in here, so she's got room to lay. Lots of pollen. There she is. All right, I'm just gonna see if you can see her, and then I'm gonna point her out. There she is. She's clipped. Yellow mark for last year. So I am a queen catcher, so I know where she is. Some people, if they've got a great spot, they know where to put her, you know, set her aside. So she is now in here, and I know where she is. And because I'm going to shake out of here, I'm going to set her on the frames where I'm not working. I will tell you something I want everybody to learn from. If you set a queen here, and then you get stung, or you set your smoker down, and you hit that little clip, she's going to walk right out. So be diligent about where you set your queen when she's in a queen catcher, or leave her on a frame and put the frame somewhere safe. So now I'm going to show you, now that I got the queen out of here, I just need to do enough shakes of bees for 3 frames, or 3 boxes of mini mating nukes, and this is a perfect frame. So this is where they might get upset. I'm shaking bees. All the foragers are like, what in the heck are you doing? I'm going to see what this last frame I didn't get to was. If it's brood, I'm going to shake it too. Got some more wonky comb. See that wonky comb? I'm going to mash that after I shake this. And when I say I mash it, this is what I do. I take it and I just kind of mash it down so they don't have to recreate the wax, but they can reuse it. Takes a lot of sugar water or nectar if it's flowing to create wax. So if you can save the resource for them, better to do it. Lots of nurse bees on this one. Probably 1 or 2 more. A lot of these foragers are going to fly out. There's enough capped brood in here that this thing's getting ready to explode. A lot of open brood on that one. Still making milk brood for the frame. So more nurse bees. Lots of pollen. This is, yeah, there's some open brood here too. All right, that's plenty for 3 little mini mating nukes. More than I need actually. So now, just putting the hive back together in the order I found it, so I'm not messing with the brood stack on this instance. And then squeeze this back without hurting too many bees for the drone frame. Tighten the frames up to minimize the propolis buildup between your frame bars. Technique. And a little smoke as we put it all back together. Gotta get one of my beetle traps in here. Beetles have not been a problem this year, but I've got some secrets to tell you guys about beetles. But we're not there yet. We'll get there. This brood minder, the sensor kind of goes here in the middle of the cluster. That's where that goes. I didn't forget my queen, because guess where she is? She's right on top, and they're taking care of her. They know she's in there. I'm going to go ahead and set this guy in here, this other reusable beetle trap. Try to minimize the squashing of the bees. All right. So now, releasing the queen. This is my technique on releasing the queen. Try to get as many off. And part of me just says I like to see her go in, and there she is. So those times when I shake her out and don't see her go down always scares me. This queen excluder is on here not for the purpose of queen excluding, it's for the purpose of storage. This is my screen board, upper screen board. Still got some double bubble on it for now. We'll take that off as it warms up. And then back onto the top. I use telescoping covers, I've gone through everything, and I take good notes on top. All right, a quick view inside of the hive butler, and I will be right back with adding the bees. All right, we're back. So the next step is to get ready, because this next step takes a little bit of orchestration, because the bees are not going to be happy here. They're all nurse bees, and nurse bees are the best of the bunch, but you can minimize threat. The next step is to take your mini nukes, flip them upside down, and open the bottoms. And you're opening the bottoms to expose the frames where you're going to dump these bees. And you need to kind of keep up, see how my lid kind of came off there? You got to kind of, see this, you don't want those cracks. So close, make that nice and tight. Nice and tight. Hold it and flip it over. That way the frames and the inner covers are all nice and secure. And get them right next to each other so they're all pointed the same direction. Now, I personally like to fill these things up as full as you can. A cup of bees is about all you need, and the bees are, of course, in here and are going to be a little bit annoyed. Now, I'm going to open this up, and you see water. Sugar water works even better, but on a day like today, where I'm only doing 3, I'm just going to use water. This slows them down from getting really flighty. These foragers are the ones that are flying away. And you just kind of coat them with water. They stick to each other. This is very similar to doing a package where you kind of want them all to stick to each other and stop flying. I see a few drones in there, but now they're all sticky. So I am just going to scoop all these bees and put them in here. All right, we're getting down to the last, Sue, so I'm going to start pouring. There we go. That's most of the bees. All right, I'm getting buzzed pretty good. Not stung, but buzzed. Now, try to get most of these guys in here. Close them in there. Now, this is the hardest part. When I say the hardest, timing, speed, and distraction. Yeah, right in the forehead. And now that they're closed up, you gotta hold the lids tight. Remember, you don't want those cracks opening up. And actually, I should have closed these front entrances, and that was a mistake I made, closing the front entrances. These front entrances need to be closed. Now they're secured in there, all together. They got ventilation on the bottom, they got ventilation on the top, they got a little bit of water on them, and they're mostly nurse bees. Now, a couple of the next steps. I've got them vertical, so I'm going to go ahead and get the queen cells. I'll bring them out here, and I'll show you how I finish it up. Okay, last step. This is pretty easy. I went to get the queen cells. These are the last 3 I had from this week's graft. These will hatch on Thursday. I prefer to put them in these JZBZ cell protectors, the type with 2 forks on either end. I went through this on a separate video this morning if you got any questions about that. Kind of inspecting them. There's plenty of royal jelly in there that I see. They look good. Now this queen bar is done, which frees it up for more grafting for me, and the queen cells are nice and safe in protectors. Now, here's where you're going to get to see my inner covers at work and why I love them. See what I mean? I'm able to open that up and able to look inside. This is the front, this is the back. I need to put some sugar water in here. So look, I've already got bees back there on my ladder, and this is pre-made up sugar water. It's thymolized sugar water, so I actually have some thymol in here and a little bit of Honeybee Healthy just to stimulate. I fill that up, let them all kind of climb up and float up. The ladder helps them get through, and there is a queen excluder in there to keep the queen from getting in the honey after she hatches, and then try to keep them in there. And this is why I love this inner cover. It just helps so much with management. And I'm going to go ahead and put the queen cell in the center section in here, and there you go. And get that little queenie off of there and down, and she's in there. All right, one is done, but we have a little bit of maintenance left to do. That'll be enough sugar water for about 3 or 4 days, depending on the number of bees I actually got in there. Kind of varies a little bit. Uh-oh, dropped it. Now I gotta go hunting. This is not what you really want to do. Got her. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and stick that on there. And back on. All right, 2 done. That one didn't go quite as planned because I had to go down there and a few of the bees got out, but there's enough in there, which is why you add more than you really need. Round 3 on the sugar water. Okay. They are nurse bees. They kind of want to be in there in that dark. They're doing pretty good. And the 3rd cell. All right. So now they're fed. Queen cells are in there. They're closed up and ventilated. Now, the last thing I like to do is I leave these bees closed up for 2 to 3 days. That is so they lose all of their bearings and they readjust to here. Sometimes when you put bees in these small little mating nukes, even with a queen cell, they abscond. You can fight that tendency by putting a little queen pheromone strip in there to give them the sense of a queen being in there that's got pheromone. That will hold them in there. I did not put any of the pheromone strips in here. I do have some in the freezer, but I typically like to leave these closed up. So I will open these up pretty close to hatch day on Thursday, maybe Wednesday night, just to kind of let them open up the sunrise on Thursday morning. So that's it. I will put these out in the yard, find a good spot to leave them cool because they're closed up. They are ventilated, but that's how I do mini mating nukes. Hope you enjoyed it. There was one thing I forgot that I wanted to mention, so we'll just call this the bonus clip at the end. The last thing you need to do is record keeping. Obviously, I know when these were laid, but when I'm out in the yard, I don't always remember when I walk up in a hive. So I've printed these little queen rearing kind of calendars. I laminate them so I can use dry erase markers on them, and I have a column for the stage, the days, expected, observed. So these were grafted on observed on the 11th. Obviously you don't have an expected on a graft. So what that means is they should be capped, add 5 days on the 16th. They should move into the nuke plus 4 days on the 20th. They will hatch plus 3 days on the 23rd. They will be mating in 5 days on the 28th. And they should be laying plus 2 days. Obviously you got 28th is the last day of February, so this is going to be March 4th. And then when the cells get capped, if I'm out in the yard or I'm moving the nuke, like on the hatch day, if I observe a hatch on the 23rd, I'll put the 23rd right there. It's just the way I do it. And at least on one of the nukes in a group, like this is a group all on the same day, I take this and I just staple it to the top. So that's how I do the record keeping. That way when I'm walking around my yard, I'll know what to expect, whether or not there should be eggs, whether or not she should be mating and I should leave them alone, or to check on the laying pattern after a few weeks. That's the bonus clip.